Hello, welcome to the Wasting Time podcast. I am your host, Chris. I'm here by myself. I'm here by myself for two reasons. Firstly, Nick was tied up, couldn't join me for this. Secondly, I have been so sick for the past week. It's like the most ill I felt in years. Part of that's been like my throat has been fucked up, and you can probably hear in my voice, it's not quite back to normal yet. So I'm going to keep this really brief. So today's episode is my chat with Canadian singer JJ Wilde, which was a good one. Let's get into it.
Got me in my hotel room. We're just in between cities right now.
Yeah, catching you in the middle of tour. What cities are you between at the minute?
Right now we are in Grand Prairie, and we're going to Edmonton today to play Edmonton tomorrow, then Calgary. We just came from where were we? Not Kelowna, Nelson, BC. Started out west, started in Victoria, did Victoria, Vancouver, Kelowna, Nelson, now Grand Prairie, and making our way more inwards into Canada.
Okay, so you're kind of in the midst of Canadian tour at the minute, and yeah, it sounds busy. Has it been good so far?
It has. It's been great. Yeah, it's been wonderful. Driving through Canada in the fall is so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the crowds have been awesome. Yeah, it's been a great tour so far. We started out with 4 shows in a row, which is like a very heavy start to a tour, but it was great.
The record came out late September.
Mm-hmm.
Vices. Do you want to just tell me a little bit about how that's been received? Because I've been reading some of your other interviews, and you've talked about in terms of the writing for that record, that's kind of been perhaps not more personal than other stuff, but you said it was kind of around a certain thing that happened in your life, and that was kind of the first time you've done that. If you just want to tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, the writing for this record was very different than the writing for my previous record. I think I took a lot more time with this record. But yeah, I mean, it feels like a bit of an evolution in the sound, and I really like that. And I'm speaking about different things than I was with Ruthless, but I mean, it definitely, the writing aspect kind of started when I got dumped the day before a 2-month tour, which was nuts.
That's rough. I'm sorry that happens.
Yeah, and then you're on the road and you're kind of like reeling from this breakup and relationship, but then also trying to put on a show every night and, you know, traveling around. And it was a pretty intense time emotionally and just like creatively and all the things going on. And then I took a road trip. Once that tour was over, I took a road trip across America just to kind of get away for a while. And a lot of the writing from this record stemmed from that as well. So there's a lot of different themes of like self-discovery and freedom and all these different things that play into this record that I do think the audience has picked up on. And even with some of these shows, you know, I'm getting people, you know, singing the words to the new record, asking about songs from the new record. Like, are you going to play Arizona? Are you going to play this one? And it's all from the new record, which is really nice, you know, obviously as an artist to get that kind of response. So I think it's been great.
Nice. What's your personal favorite track on it?
I think either Bad Side or Perfect Stranger, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, nice. Would be I don't know. It's difficult. I mean, that's like picking one of your favorite kids. You can't do that.
No. Yeah. Yeah, you're not the first artist to say that.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, shit. But I don't know. I mean, right now I think I'm most connected to Bad Side. I've been really feeling that song. And every night that we play it on stage, I'm loving it. We're doing it as song 1 of the encore right now. And it's just, there's such a good feeling in the room when I play it, and I feel good playing it on stage. So I think that's probably the favorite right now.
Nice. And I guess that's nice to happen, like, because obviously, as you said, a lot of this record came out of something bad that happened to you, and now here you are, like, on the other side, having people sing lyrics back to you, you know?
Yeah, it feels pretty good.
So when you're not on the road, are you permanently based in Nashville now, or are you kind of in between Nashville and Canada?
I'm in between, and I just actually left. I just moved back more permanently to Canada in the fall, like a month ago. Yeah.
Okay. Were you just not feeling Nashville, or was it you just missing Canada?
I love Nashville. I love the scene. I love the everything about that city. I just felt like I was ready to come home for a little bit.
Hmm.
No, I felt like I was ready to come home for a little bit. When you tour and you're constantly everywhere, sometimes it's nice to have home base be one spot. And it was such a great experience being in Nashville, and I do see myself going back, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, but with the headlining tour now moving into next year, I feel like this year is going to be a lot more travel and busy. And I felt like I
Hmm.
was on the road and then coming back to Nashville as my home base, but then needing to come back to Canada to see, my family and friends and stuff. So it just kind of felt a little bit sporadic and a little spread out. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just ready to have home base be one spot for a bit, and then
That makes sense.
I'll probably go back down.
Did you kind of immerse yourself in the kind of songwriting community down in Nashville? Because we've spoke to a lot of people people who are in LA or New York, and they've ended up in Nashville. And I work with a songwriter, and like we try and get them out to Nashville as much as we can. Did you kind of immerse yourself in that world? And
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, that was my favorite thing about Nashville is like you go out to any bar to, either go to a writer's round or literally just going
yeah,
out and you meet 5 to 10 writers, in one spot. You're like, oh, everybody you meet seems to be a musician or a writer. And so there was so much opportunity for networking and writing with different people. And so, yeah, I definitely immersed myself in that and found a nice little community of writers and musicians and a
yeah.
little family.
Did you collab with many of those on Vices?
So Vices, there is quite a few of my Nashville friends. Quite a few songs with my Nashville friends.
Yeah.
Um, there and actually the producer that I worked with on this record, Steve Solomon, I met him in Nashville as well.
Okay.
So a lot of this record, there's a lot of Nashville on this record.
Nice, nice. Well, not a bad city to have on the record, I guess.
No, no, it could be worse.
What's life like for you outside of music when you're not on the road? When again downtime will be in Canada when you've stopped doing this tour. Like how does that look? Or are you kind of is it music every day, or do you do other things outside of it?
I mean, it takes up probably 95% of my life for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
I would say in my downtime, I love to hike and be outdoors. I'm all about being outside and close to nature. And so whether that's like going up to my cottage or just hiking in the woods and kind of disassociating from social media and, getting regrounded that way, that's kind of what it looks like for me.
Okay.
Um, and family is huge for me. So in my downtime, I always go up to visit my sister and her kids, my parents, my brother. Like I'm very close with my family, so I feel like a lot of my downtime is just reconnecting with my family after being away for like months and then
Yeah.
coming back and kind of having a slice of normalcy and then but not too much because then that gets boring and then I got to go again.
Can I just take it a little bit back to the early days? Can you just tell me a little bit about? So you grew up? Did you grow up? Is it Kitchener, Ontario, that you
Yeah.
grew up?
Yeah.
Yeah, just tell me a little bit like what that was like as a place to grow up, and perhaps what your early musical experiences were, and kind of how this led you on this path.
I mean, Kitchener's a funny spot. We were playing pool last night with the opening band for the tour,
Hmm.
and we're all playing, and we're having a pretty good game, and my bandmate looks at me, he's like, "Yeah, you're from Kitchener," and I was like, "What
Oh,
do you mean?"
really?
He's like, "Yeah," and I'm
Yeah.
like,
What does
"Ah,
that mean?
yeah." Yeah, I'm like, what does that mean? It's like throw a 20 on the table and win at a game of pool. Like, I don't know. But no, it's a funny spot. It's a little rough around the edges, but it's got so much character. And growing up there for me was, I started playing guitar when I was 15. So
Okay.
music was always heavily in my life. My parents have a great love of music. They're not musicians, but my dad's record collection is massive, and so there was always music going around in my house.
Sorry to cut in.
Mhm.
When you were 15 and started playing guitar, like what were you into at that time?
Well, I mean, I was into folk in my
Okay.
like early teens. I kind of grew up on rock and roll, like classic rock. was what I started with as far as like musical taste. And then as I like expanded a little bit, I really got into folk and how the writing and the lyrics were like poetry to me, you know, the
Hmm.
storytelling of folk music I really loved. So I think at that point I was really into like Damien Rice and Bob Dylan and yeah, different folk artists and that's what but I always had like the love of rock and roll, but it was just the songwriting and the lyricism that I fell in love with folk music and
Okay.
harmonies and all of that. So then I was writing folk songs on acoustic guitar,
Yeah.
trying to play gigs wherever I could. I couldn't get into bars yet, so it was more like open mics and different outlets like that. And then as
Yeah.
soon as I could, you know, get into a bar, I started playing gigs. I think it was at like 18 probably. And then it basically was just me chasing that for the for the rest of the time. You know,
Okay.
I remember emailing, you know, sitting at my shitty apartment, you know, on the verge of being broke, emailing like 30 random shitty Kitchener bars a day, being like, can I play at your bar? And so that was, you know, that was a struggle for quite a few years. And I joined a folk band, you know, back in the day of, I think I was
Yeah.
probably 20, I think that band was like 20, I was 20 to like 23 maybe.
Okay.
And we were never signed and we got in the van and we toured across Canada. We had like decent success for a kind of like no name local band. It was a ton of fun. It taught me all about touring, you know,
Hmm.
on a very real level. And then the funny thing is when that band broke up, I really thought that my career was over. You know, I was a little bit naive, I
How long
guess.
did that band last for?
It's about 3 years, 3 or 4
Okay.
years, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we had two records, I think, and it felt like we were starting to get noticed and all of this, and then we broke up, and I remember thinking, you know, like shit, this is it. This is what I thought my
Yeah.
life was going to be, and now it's not, and I was completely destroyed. And I was working at a music venue as a bartender at the time, and
Yeah.
so it was a little bit of like twisted torture to be watching musicians
Oh man.
every
Okay.
night
Yeah.
right after my band broke up, like mixing drinks, just like watching people be on stage, being like, "Fuck, am I ever going to get to do that again?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
little did I know that that would turn into this. I mean, it's kind of crazy. You just don't know where life is going to go, and you know, when certain things end and doors close, you really think it's the end, and it's not. It's just a different turn. It's just a different avenue. You know,
Yeah. How
kind of
how
crazy.
how did that turn into this?
Well, so I was working at Maxwell's as a music venue in Kitchener, and
Yeah.
then I actually moved back out. I moved to Halifax for a little bit to get back on my feet as
Yeah.
far as like performing by myself again, because I'd been with this band. I hadn't really been playing guitar in the band. I was just singing frontman kind of stuff. And so I wanted to get back into performing with guitar on stage and stuff. And I didn't want to do that in my hometown where the band had broken up and it was like a big thing in my town. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna get out for a little bit. So I went to
Hmm.
Halifax. I started playing gigs out there and then I came back and I again would just it was just a grind of like emailing fucking 70 places to get like 3 gigs, you know? Um,
Yeah.
and then and then one of my friends who's in another Canadian band, the Glorious Sons, we were I think they were playing at Maxwell's or something and he had known my previous band and said, "Oh, I have this song that I'd love you to like sing with us if you want to, if you're working that night or whatever, if you want to like jump up on the stage and sing a song with us." And I was like, "That would be amazing." So
Yeah.
we started practicing and their manager saw one of we just like I think it was like a random video that we were just like a practice video to hear how the song sounded and their manager saw it and was like, "Who is that?" and and that's my manager today and we
Oh
you
wow.
know
Okay.
yeah yeah we had a meeting I remember and again, I I think I was a little naive and he said, send me your songs, send me what you have. And I think I sent him like 5 of my best songs, which were probably not that great at the time, but I thought, oh, this is my shot. These are my 5 songs. And I didn't hear from him for like 3 months, or it might have been close to a year, actually. I don't remember.
Oh,
And
wow.
then,
Okay.
yeah. And so I'm
So did you
thinking like,
kind of like let go of the idea during that time of
I
it, or?
I did a little, but I kept thinking like, shit, like this was my shot. And then yeah, eventually I kind of let go of it. I'm like, okay, I guess that wasn't it. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And then he reached out again months later,
Yeah.
and said, "Hey, I was thinking about you. I heard this song on vacation and it made me think of your voice. Like, send me your music or send me what you're working on." And I sent him everything I had been working on for the past year. And that was like voice notes, melodies, full songs, half songs, everything. And I categorized it into months because it had been
Yeah.
a year's worth of music, and it was close to
Okay.
like 500 songs that I just sent through. And then he was like, "All right, let's talk."
Ah, okay. Okay.
So yeah, so then it turned, and then yeah, then the rest is history. First tour started and got signed pretty quickly after that.
Yeah, and it feels like there's been some big moments since you've taken on, gone off on this career. What are some of the what are some of like the milestones that you identify? Because, I know you've played with some big names and stuff, but are there any particular ones that stood out for you?
I mean, the Juno was cool.
Yes, yes, yeah.
That was a really kind of surreal moment, being the first
Right.
woman to win it in like 25 years. I was like,
Was
I I was
was
a
that
little
like the
taken
first
back.
since Alanis Morissette or something? Or
Yeah, yeah.
amazing, yeah.
And it was nuts. So that was probably the biggest highlight, and is so far, because there will be more. I know.
Right. Early days still,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, that was the highlight so far. I mean, there was a couple of different awards. There was a SOCAN award and an Indie award, which is also cool. It was like a lot of really great attention off of a record that I had no idea was going to do anything. So
Right.
it was pretty cool. And then it was followed very quickly by a whirlwind year of being home for like a few weeks out of the year and just going everywhere. We went through America, through Canada, into Europe. It was like seeing all of this stuff for the first time as well. Getting to do
Yeah.
that first run in all of these places was
Was
insane.
was that your first time in Europe? Had you been to Europe much in your kind of life in general prior to that, or was that your first time
Not
in Europe full
really.
stop?
I mean, so my dad's from England, so I had been
Oh,
to,
whereabouts?
yeah. He is from the Devon, Cornwall area, but he moved every 3 years of his life. So he's lived in a bunch of different
All over
places.
the place. Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
But my uncle is still in Crawley, and I still have family in
In
Cornwall.
in
And
Crawley, really.
yeah, yeah.
Home of
Uh,
the Cure. That's Crawley's claim to fame.
oh, is it really? I didn't know the Cure's
Yeah,
from Crawley. That's
well,
amazing.
It's where Robert Smith's from. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, there's still some family out there, and I'd been to England, but that was kind of it. I think there was a little bit
Hmm.
of vacation, and so this was my first time seeing a lot of these places, especially Europe and America, and seeing them from the lens of a touring artist, where previously my
Amazing.
travels had been, I toured Canada with my band, but other than that, traveling it looked completely different for me. So that was really cool as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess the highlights are being able to do music for a living. You know, it's
Yeah.
That's kind of the highlight. It's like it doesn't feel real sometimes when we're, the other day we're like in Vancouver walking around this beautiful city
Hmm.
and getting to take in the sights of like the mountains and driving through the west coast of Canada, and then
Yeah.
to play a show and you're like, oh yeah, that's a work day. It feels
Yeah.
fucked.
Yeah. It is living the dream when you frame it like that, which is
It
what you're
is, but
doing.
it's all in
So
perspective. It's all in perspective too, because it is also 4 hours of sleep, different hotels every night, this and that. Like there's two
right.
sides to this life, right?
Yeah.
But it's all about how you look at it.
Yeah, and having to do press,
Oh shit. No.
which is the best part, of course.
Yeah.
And like, so you've had the opportunity to play with some pretty big artists, right? Like,
Yeah.
so did you play? Did I read you played Hyde Park with Pearl Jam?
Hell yeah. That was definitely a
Yeah.
highlight. Yeah, we didn't even get onto the live highlights, really. I
Yeah.
mean, oh my God, opening for Kiss in
Oh yeah.
Nîmes,
Yeah.
that was probably one of the biggest highlights for me. Because we played in a like ancient Colosseum. It literally looked like something from Gladiator. It looked like a movie set. Like it literally didn't look real. And
Yeah.
then obviously opening for Kiss, that was probably one of the most surreal moments. Hyde Park, Pearl Jam was also insane. Opening for the Scorpions was nuts.
Yeah.
Um,
Did
yeah,
did
there's
did you
been
did you get to interact with these huge artists much on these occasions? Because
yeah,
I know it can vary how that can be,
it
I guess.
can, yeah. I mean, Kiss was funny. It was like after the show, I think we hung out with them a little bit. I was talking to
Okay.
Paul Stanley and his daughter for
As
like
you do.
hours. Yeah, as you do, just casually. Um, but it was funny because they had a bit of a thing like before stage. It was very much like don't look at them, don't talk to them, like keep it separate kind of thing. And then
Okay.
after the show, it was like totally fine, and
Oh,
everyone was very
interesting.
sweet and genuine and hanging
Yeah.
out. Yeah. We didn't really get to see Pearl Jam much because it was a festival and it was kind of spread out.
Yeah.
Scorpions got to hang out with. One of the big highlights too, and this was earlier in my career, was opening for Incubus.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Yeah,
that
yeah.
was a
Did
that
you
was a
grow
really
up on
great.
Incubus a bit then?
Well, my brother was a huge fan, and so,
Yeah.
in return, being his younger sister, thinking that his music taste is the coolest thing ever, obviously I got into Incubus.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was cool because it was a bit of a full circle moment because yeah, he introduced me to a lot of really great music as a kid, and
Hmm.
Incubus was one of those bands, and that was one of his favorite bands growing up. And so I brought my brother to the show, him and his friends, and it was such a full circle moment of
Oh,
like
that's lovely.
him being the person that taught me how to play guitar, that kind of started me out into music, and then bringing him to his favorite band to watch me open for them was like, wait, what is life?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, but
Who's on the list of artists that it hasn't happened yet, but you'd like to see it happen to play with?
oh my gosh, there's a lot. I mean, I'm still a diehard Kings of Leon fan, so I would love to open for them one day. Um, but oh man, there's so many like collaborations or tours.
I meant tours, but
Yeah.
collaborations equally. If you had anything specific for noted for that, feel free to share that too.
I mean, I love Jessie Reyez. I know it's a genre cross, like completely different genres, but I
Yeah.
find her music, her attitude, everything about that artist, I love what she does. So I would love to collaborate with her in some way.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, yeah, one of my favorite artists. But yeah, I don't know. Oh man, there's way too many bands to think like to like pick one for opening. We'll see what comes
Yeah.
down the pipe. Red Hot Chili Peppers would be fucking nuts. That would be sweet. But we'll see. Yeah.
What about like kind of maybe doesn't have to be smaller, but perhaps smaller artists that you're listening to right now? Like what's kind of on your
Yeah.
Spotify or Apple Music at the minute?
I love Lola Young's record. I know she's kind of blowing up in certain parts, and I heard one of her songs. So living in Nashville, one of the best things that I took away from there is this radio station called WNXP, and it's
Okay.
all a non-for-profit indie underground station. And the amount of artists that I've heard on that station first, and then they blow up in like 6 months or whatever, is nuts. And it's such a cool landscape to find new artists and new music. So I've been finding a ton of artists on there.
Okay.
Lola Young was one of them. I heard her single "Messy" on that radio station, and it was one of those songs we were just like, "Oh, this is cool! Like, what is this vibe?" So instantly had to go download the record and see if it was just a song or if the whole record was good. And
Yeah,
the
yeah,
whole
yeah.
record is fucking sick. It's like I love it. So she's heavy on my rotation right now. Blonde Shell is another Nashville artist that's kind of like a grungy alt vibe. And her record, I think it's a self-titled record that I fell in love with. And then she's had a couple singles after that, but amazing. There's a rapper right now that I'm obsessed with named Caitlyn. Everyone thinks she's
All
Eminem's
right.
daughter, and she's not, and it's fucking hilarious because she always plays on that. But yeah, she's great as well. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. There's what else? I'm always listening to random shit.
Nice.
Waxahachie is another one that I'm really into right now. It's like kind of folky. They've got this song right back to it that I'm obsessed with. But yeah, I'm always like searching. What about you? What are you listening to right now?
Sometimes people like yourself, when I'm interviewing them, do ask me that. It's rare, like most people don't. And I was thinking, I wonder if you're going to be one of the ones that do. It's always nice when people do. But I'm going to look at my most recent Spotify.
I know sometimes when I get asked in an interview, all of a sudden all the bands like escape my brain, and I'm like, oh
of
who
course,
am I listening to? What is music?
Well, I've been giving your record a spin, which is the most recent thing, which I have been enjoying, liking the kind of pop rock direction of it. But outside of yourself, I've been. Did you ever hear a band called Limbeck? They had a moment in about 20 years ago. They're kind of Americana kind of band. They've got the songwriting's very good. I recently interviewed Anne Boleyn for this podcast as well, and like their new stuff's been kind of
cool.
And then another kind of pop rock band called Grayscale. I don't know if you know them. They're probably
Grayscale sounds familiar. I don't know. I'd have to listen to a song, but so far these are all new artists for me.
I'll try one more. Oh, a lot of Jackson Brown. Been doing a lot of Jackson Brown kind of old school stuff. And I'll tell you what, I have been quite into the new Post Malone country stuff. I can't resist it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I am a bit of a sucker for that cheesy country stuff, which is, I mean, it's always been big in North America, but it's particularly big in the mainstream at the minute. I've been enjoying that. And then outside of that, loads of pop punk, though, which is what I still haven't managed to shake in my kind of early 40s.
Yeah,
that is what it is.
I love it.
But yeah, that's kind of me. If it's cool, like maybe we could finish with just like a couple of kind of generalistic, like quick fire questions, and then I'll kind of let you get on with your day.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. So, favorite movie?
Oh man, favorite movie. I don't know why Braveheart just came to mind instantly.
Let's go with Braveheart.
Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's my favorite, but that's just what popped into my head.
Okay. TV show?
Oh, you're going to hate this. Everyone's going to hate me for this, but Love is Blind.
I did, I think it was series 2 of the American one. Like me and my wife got hooked on a couple of years ago. And once it claws you in, it is hard to...
It does. You can't stop. You literally can't stop. It's like a train wreck. It's like
it knows what it's doing.
You know you shouldn't be watching, but you can't stop. And yeah, it is what it is.
Favorite food?
Oh, favorite food. I'm such a foodie. I think spaghetti for breakfast is very, very underrated.
Okay, interesting.
So I'm gonna go with that. Yeah.
America or Canada?
Canada, baby.
Had to be, right?
Had to.
And final question: you take one record to a desert island. What are you taking with you?
Oh, that's so unfair.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
Only one record.
Only one.
Oh, sorry. Okay, one record. Shit. This is like the conversation we were just having, where it's like somebody asks you a question, you're like, "What is?"
I know.
Music?
I'm aware. I've completely done that to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, one record. One record to rule them all. Okay. I'm gonna go with. Oh, this is a hard one.
You can give me a couple of contenders if it's because it's a bit harsh for me to make you pick one.
I know. I'm like, one just can't do it. Del Watergap's title album, I think I listened to for like a year straight. So that would be one for sure. But it's not emotional enough to take to a desert island, you know? It's too fun. You need something that's gonna give you a bit of a range of emotions, you know what I mean? It can't just be a smooth ride in solitude Oh, that's tough. I don't know if I can answer it.
We can just we could go with that to be continued on the other one.
But that record doesn't to be continued, because that record doesn't do the justice. That's It needs more.
Okay.
It needs
I'll
more.
accept that.
But all right.
Okay, thank you so much for doing this. Congrats on the new record.
Thanks for having me.
I hope the rest of the tour is good, and hope to see you back in the UK soon.
Hell yeah. Thanks for having me. It's great chatting with you.